Hello, Tuba Hero 37 here. Today I'd like to give an update on my progress towards my Season 22 America's Hardcore goals, as well as my strategies moving forward. And I have a spreadsheet that I've been working on relating what I'm doing right now towards my Season 20 progress. I basically looked at some of my Paragons from different clear videos that I posted then, where I knew the date that I got the clears, and posted those onto a spreadsheet, lined that up with where I'm at this season with some other clear dates, and at some point, after I made that, I just started writing down after every night how much Paragon I've gained. So you can kind of track how I'm doing Paragon-wise this season there. So a couple weeks ago, I knocked out 135, 6, and 7 in pretty rapid succession on Demon Hunter, and tried a bunch at 138 and had a close attempt. But basically at the time, this was the highest clear, so I thought, okay, after some more Paragon, a 138 is probably my best bet for getting a rank 1. Well, after getting some Paragon, by the time I went to go for that, there was already a 140 cleared. So I decided at that point my best bet for rank 1 would be to try to get rank 1 Barb, and this was a couple weeks ago. And I probably spent about 6 hours fishing that across 2 different days, and it was a pain. So I decided, okay, I'm tired of this RNG fest. I'm just going to grind Paragon. So I grinded Paragon very hard for a few days, and then came back. And within 30 minutes, I think, when I sat down on this day, I got 135 down. You know, it could have been, I could have spent 30 more minutes those other days and still gotten the clear, but I just got frustrated with fishing. So I went ahead and grinded some Paragon out before I went for the 135. I still think I could get quite a bit higher with even better RNG, but in the meantime, I've been back to grinding the Paragon out. So that was on December 20th. Later that week, after grinding a bunch of Paragon out, I was at around 2,700 on Christmas, the last day before I took a few days off to go visit family. And that day, I thought I really want to get a 130 out on my Juliana's Monk before I leave. So if you're not aware, I'm trying to get as many rank 1s as possible, but on Monk, I just don't like the meta solo push build, so I'm going to put that off until late January probably. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep trying to re-upping my Juliana's personal best. So right now, we've already got a 130 down. Got that down that night. And that also was quicker than I was expecting. So I think I did just a little bit more farming, and then I thought, you know what, let's go for Demon Hunter. And that's when I got the 138 down. But got rank 2 by 1 second. And this is kind of another situation where it's like, I think I have the damage and everything to get a 140 down. But this person's probably over 4,000 Paragon by now and probably could get quite a bit higher than that. So I don't really see any rush to try and get rank 1 Demon Hunter when there's so many people who could just, pop out a higher clear if they really tried. So right now I'm focused more on grinding Paragon. So I got those clears last week, and they were both around 2,700 Paragon. So right now my goal is to just get to 3,000 as fast as possible. And then at that point, I'll decide if I want to try fishing anymore or just keep grinding the Paragon. Because ultimately, fishing is hurting my goal of having a high clear at the end of the season. That's my main goal. So I want to have rank 1s throughout it. And I want to have things like, it's cool to have a top 5 Juliana's clear. But if you look at the Paragon of the people above, well, some of the people above me, it almost seems like I Paragon bullied into this position. But it is what it is. It's a weaker build, so I needed more to do less. So my main 2 classes I'm farming XP on are the Demon Hunter and the Monk. And I kind of do it in 2 very different ways at the moment. So on the Demon Hunter, usually I'm on normal, and I'll go around to the different zones collecting pools until I'm full on pools, and then I'll go and do greater rifts until I'm out, and then I'll go collect pools on normal, just bounce around to the different zones, and so that uses a lot of game resets. On the Monk, I really prefer playing with low latency, kind of like this is 50 ms. This would have been a good game for the Monk, so sometimes that can take me a long time to find, so I don't like resetting the game very often on that. So on the Monk, I usually just do keys, so I'll go on T16, farm keys until I'm full on pools, and then I'll use up the XP doing greater rifts. and repeat that cycle over and over. So the monk might spend 2 hours in a game. The demon hunter might see 10 games in 2 hours, just because every time I run out of pools, then it'll take, I think, on average about 2 games to fill back up on pools, depending on whether I actually like use bovines. I did see I'm getting pretty low on those. I might have to like focus more on monk or barb farming, or just upgrade rare pole arms. I got plenty of mats, so I could do that and get a bunch more bovines if I wanted to. So a few weeks ago, I decided to start directly comparing my pace this season to how I was doing in Season 20. Now, Season 20, I missed the first day because I was out of town. But after that, I was on spring break for a week after that. So I was on spring break. When I came back from spring break, we had very little actual class time. So I forgot about this, but I was actually able to play as much Diablo as I wanted, basically, for all of these first 2 months of that season. Whereas this season, I had quite a bit more class time. But anyway, here I basically looked back at some of my videos that I post on YouTube with dates and stuff. And so I saw this March 20th, I got a clear, and in the video I had 1199 Paragon. So I just threw that on this sheet. March 24th, I had a clear with 1493 Paragon, threw on the sheet. And I was doing the same thing with clears I had gotten this season. But eventually, probably around here, I just started writing down every single one because I thought, why not? And then I've got more data. It was around this point that I realized, oh crap, I'm not actually destroying my pace I had in Season 20. I got a few days ahead of it early, and then I just kind of stayed 4 or 5 days ahead of it this whole time. Now, was I busier this season? Sure. But there's huge advantages to XP grinding this season between the clones and the 4th cube slot, whereas that season we just had the open cube that I didn't even utilize when I was farming on Monk anyway. I also have just the more knowledge this season to know, I'm not going to want to do most of my XP farming on Barb like I started off that season, and GOD exists and all that stuff. After that point, and these, if I didn't already say it, these color bars are basically a direct comparison. It's obviously 1199 and 1129 isn't the same number, but relative, when you're getting over 100 a day, potentially, it's pretty close. So here, these were only 6 apart, and it was 4 days later, so that's 4 days difference. And around here, I decided to kick it into higher gear and grind a lot more than I had been. Somewhere in here, we got out of school. I did take a few days off for Christmas, so I got 27, 23 was where I ended. I don't know if that's where I ended my stream on that day, if I went grinded another level or two, but didn't play any while I was at the farm, obviously. Got back around 2 or 3 o'clock this day and grinded out 30 Paragon before I went to bed, and then yesterday had an even bigger day. I think today's going to be pretty light by comparison, because I was it wasn't even that late yet when I was passing 2800, and I thought, man, I could get even more. I was just so brain dead of grinding at that point that I decided to stop 2806. Didn't want to accidentally screw up and lose a hardcore character just because I wanted to grind out another 5 Paragon. But I do think that pushing myself to get 253 Paragon and pushing myself to get 30 Paragon in basically half to 2/3 of a day, those sorts of things will strengthen my resolve so that during the rest of this break, because I don't go back to school until mid-January, during the rest of this break, I should have an easier time grinding out more and more every day. I feel like most people dwindle off as the season goes on, and I definitely have spurts where I will all of a sudden for a week I'll just go crazy, even though it's 2 months into the season, and then at the end I'm really incentivized to grind. Hopefully I actually have it well set up this time that I just fish those last 2 weeks, but usually I spend out of the last 2 weeks I spend 11 days farming stuff and maybe 3 days actually fishing hard, because I think, well, I'm still getting XP really easily, this would be easier with more. So yeah, but that's basically a waste of time. If I set it up right, I'll be around 4,000 Paragon, maybe more, by the time the 2-week warning comes, and I should just be fishing. Fishing or key farming if I run out of keys. Anyway, so this data only goes until March or May 13th, and this column right here, this is weeks and days. So 9 weeks and 6 days into that season. That's when I got my 135 Barb clear that season, which was rank 1 at the time. And that was kind of when I stopped grinding Paragon. That's why I switched over to softcore for a while. And I don't know how much Paragon I ended up with season 20, but it wasn't much more than that. 3,000 was my goal. This season, I'm going to need a lot more than 3,000 because I want to hit rank 1 at the end of the season. So I'm planning on going farther than that for sure. But I was just kind of curious how far ahead we can get to that goal. Right now, I'm 13 days ahead of pace. So if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Should be there within 9 days. I'm thinking more like 5 or 6 because, I just got 53 yesterday. So even if I only get 40 a day, it'll be 5 days to Paragon 3K. Maybe I don't get 40 a day, but it's nice to know that should be soon. So one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that the monk with my current builds is a lot worse at going around adventure mode collecting pools than my demon hunter is. I think if I built up an infinite dash setup, which I've never done before, but I've seen it in action and it's crazy, that would be comparable, if not better, to the demon hunter. But right now I've just got a really fast GOD setup, and I've got like Wave of Light for keys. That's amazing, but it's not so amazing for just moving around adventure mode. And my monk bounty build also requires some wind up, which isn't great for just quickly trying to go to a bunch of zones getting pools. So in that sense, it makes all the sense in the world for my monk to be doing rifts and greater rifts, and my DH to be doing adventure mode on normal and greater rifts. I'm going to put a link to this spreadsheet in the description. I also am planning on putting out a pool farming video soon. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. And as always, thanks for watching.